وما أرسلنا قبلك إلا رجالا نوحي إليهم فاسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون.
بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Today, inshallah, we're going to start talking about the rules of stopping and starting. العلم الوقفي والابتداء. The rules of stopping and starting comes under the science of the Arabic grammar. As we mentioned before, that the grammar was one of the sciences which Allah protected the Qur'an from any corruption. So it is one of the most important areas in the science of Tajweed, because the knowledge of where to stop and where to begin recitation is connected to the understanding of Allah's words and its meaning. So without it, the word of Allah cannot be appreciated, nor can correct understanding be achieved. This is what makes it one of the most important chapters of Tajweed, as Ibn al-Jazari mentioned in his poem Al-Jazariya, وَبَعْدَ تَجْوِيدِكَ لِلْحُرُوفِ لَا بُدَّ مِنْ مَعْرِفَةِ الْوُقُوفِ وَالِابْتِدَاءِ. And after becoming skillful in pronouncing the letters, you must know the stop and the start. The definition of the stop, it is to stop the sound on a word, usually for the period of time of a breath, with the intention of returning to the recitation, and not with the intention of abandoning the recitation. Types of the stop, there are 4 types. 1, the forced stop. In Arabic is called al-waqfu al-iddirari. This happens when a reciter is forced to stop by such things as of shortness of breath or sneezing or etc. 2, the test stop is called in Arabic al-waqfu al-ikhtibari. This happens when a student is being examined by his teacher. The third one, waiting stop, al-waqfu al-intidari. This happens when the reciter stops at a word which has more than one permitted form of recitation, with the intention of resuming recitation in the different permitted ways. 4th one, the optional stop, al-waqfu al-ikhtiyari. This is something intended by the reciter of his own choice, without any outside reasons. And the chapter of the stop and the start will be all about the optional stop, because the first 3 types are to be stopped without a choice. The optional stop, the al-waqfu al-ikhtiyari, is divided into 4 categories. 1, the complete stop, al-waqfu al-tam. It is to stop on a word either at the end of a verse or within a verse that is complete in meaning and not connected with what follows it in grammatical expression or meaning. This is usually at the end of a verse or a surah. For example, stopping at the end of a verse, alhamdullilah rabbil alameen, then start maliki yawmiddin. Its ruling, it is best to stop on it and start with what follows it. Number 2, the sufficient stop, al-waqfu al-kafi. It is to stop on a word either at the end of a verse or within it, that is complete in its meaning, but it is connected to what follows it in meaning, but not in grammar. Example, أَمْ لَمْ تُنذِرْهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Stop, then start خَتَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ وَعَلَى سَمْعِهِمْ. Its ruling, it is sufficient stop, sufficient to stop on it and start with what follows it. 3, the good stop, al-waqfu al-hasan. It is to stop on a word either at the end of a verse or within it, that it is complete in its meaning, but it is connected to what follows in grammar and in meaning. Example, alhamdullilah. Stop, then rabbil alameen. Its ruling is good or may stop on it, but not to begin with what follows it unless it is the end of a verse, as it is a sunnah to stop at the end of each verse. The fourth one, the repulsive stop, al-waqfu al-qabih. It is to stop on a word that gives incorrect or corrupt meaning. Example, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقربوا الصلاة. Stop, then start, وأنتم سكارى. So the meaning of the first, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقربوا الصلاة, that means, oh, who you believe, don't approach prayer, and you stop. So now it gives corrupt meaning. After all, you see all these rules, there is no such stopping in the Quran which is obligatory or haram, unless there is a reason for it, like doing it deliberately, as Ibn Jazari and other scholars mentioned. If a reader decided to cut off the recitation and end it, the cutoff can only be at the end of a verse, and care should be taken when cutting off recitation in order that the cutoff is on a verse which gives a full and correct meaning. If the reader somehow wants to return to recitation, to recitation of the Quran after cutting off, then he start with the seeking refuge and basmala, as we explained before. Now we can start the second one, which is the start, al-ibtida. So we finish with al-waqf, the stop, we start with the ibtida. The start is, we can say, refers to the resuming of recitation after cutting off or stopping. Starting can only be by choice, unlike the stop. Its ruling, it is allowed to start with what comes after a complete or sufficient stop. As well, it is allowed to start with that which comes after a good stop, but only if it is the end of a verse. The start is divided into two types. It is divided into allowed start and repulsive start. The allowed start, which is al-ibtida'u al-jaiz, it is to start recitation with an independent phrase which has a complete meaning of what Allah desires and does not contradict it, and it is divided into three categories. One, complete start, al-ibtida'u tam, it is to start with what is not connected to what is before it in either in the grammar or meaning. Example, starting with إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ, after stopping on هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Its ruling, it is a complete start. Number two, the sufficient start, al-ibtida'u al-kafi, it is to start with what is connected to what is before it in meaning only. Example, ختم الله على قلوبهم, after stopping on أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون. Its ruling, it is a sufficient start. Number three, the good start, al-ibtida'u al-hasan, it is to start with that is connected to what is before it in grammar and meaning, but starting with it, it still gives a good meaning. For example, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ, after stopping on وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ, it is good to start with what gives a complete meaning, and this is usually at the beginning of a verse which follows a good stop that was at the end of the previous verse. We're going to speak now about the repulsive start, which is called al-ibtida'u al-qabih. The repulsive start, ibtida'u al-qabih, it is to start a verse that is connected to whatever is before it in grammar and meaning. For example, لَقَدْ سَمِعَ اللَّهُ قَوْلَ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا, stop, then start with the statement of the Jews, إِنَّ اللَّهَ فَقِيرٌ وَنَحْنُ أَغْنِيَاء. If you start with this verse, the meaning will be Allah is poor and we are rich. Its ruling, it is not allowed to start with it as it gives a corrupt meaning. As I said before, all this, the start and the stop, is to do with grammar. And obviously, if somebody doesn't know the grammar, he doesn't know where to start, when to stop. He doesn't know where is the verb, where is the subject, where is this. He doesn't know the connection between the grammatical connection, everything. So the scholars, when they saw that people they are away from the Arabic grammar and they don't know the grammar, they done some symbols in the Quran. It tells you where to stop, where you must stop, where you must not carry on, where it is allowed to carry on, but better to stop, where it is better to stop, better to carry on, where it is allowed in both ways. So if somebody doesn't know the grammar, should follow these symbols, and it will be easier for you than trying to focus on all these rules. Until next time, subhanakallah bihamdik, shadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.